It's Saturday, people. Let me get this squared away here. Live chat. It's Saturday, people. And you know what that means? That means the 3 o'clock live feed. We do this each and every Saturday. I am going old school, so I will need a moment to get this squared away. As you know, oftentimes with Mark on the weekends, oftentimes Mark spends time with his family, and that's awesome. He's doing a family meal today. So he will be rejoining us on this evening's live feed. She's going up in about 3 hours from right now. But this one I will be doing old school. As you can see, I am not on the deck of the boat. Let me see here. I'm not sure why exactly I don't have that squared away. There we go. That should be better. So there'll be no assistance from the other side of the glass. Can I get a 5x5 from anybody? Give me an idea that that this thing is looking halfway decent. How do I sound? Maybe it's because no one can hear me. Okay, people. Before we get rolling on today's topic, a couple of things that I wanted to go over. One, there we go. Thank you very much, Trish. Miss V, excellent. Now everybody seems to, you know what it is, honestly, and I seem to forget this on a regular basis. There's a very serious delay between when I speak and when things pop up. It can be as much as 30 or 40 seconds. So I say something like, can I get a 5x5? I don't see your response for close to a minute. And it seems to be one of those things that I forget on a pretty regular basis. So you think I would learn, but you would be wrong. So I'm new, but I'm loving it, says Trish Killian. Like it. That's awesome. We love hearing that. We really do. I do want to start off today with a little light reading, people. Yesterday on the 3 o'clock live feed, picked up a couple of new crew members, and I always ask the new crew to reach out to me, send me an email, just tell me a little bit about yourself, and if it's one of those things that you're comfortable with me sharing with the entire crew, put that in the letter that you write to me. If you're not, that's cool. But yesterday I got a couple of letters. One of them, the new crew member said, I have no problem at all with you sharing this with the crew. In fact, he shot a second email and said, please share it with the crew so that they have a better idea of, who I am and where I'm coming from and things of that nature. So before we get rolling on today's subject, I would like to read an email that I got from Mr. Todd Bergman. And the email starts, Hi. Just wanted to let you know I love your channel. I guess I better say a little about me. I just turned 60 today. That would have been the 4th. So happy birthday, belated, Todd Bergman. I just turned 60 today, and all but about 15 of them I've spent drunk or high on meth, opioids, or anything I could find. I've done a lot of jail time, lost a lot of friends and family too. I've been through several treatments, and I'm doing a relapse prevention class right now. I've been through a lot, pretty much everything that could happen to a person who uses to the extreme, including overdosing and all of that. I enjoy listening to your program because I think you have a lot of good things to say, and it makes me use my head a little bit too. Anyway, thanks for your channel. If you have any questions or anything, just ask. I'm pretty honest about everything. Tell everyone there. I'm kind of slow with chatting, but I'm there, and I'll try to be a little quicker to say something. Thanks again. Contact me anytime. It's great when somebody reaches out and tells you that, you know what, I'm not going to be super active on the chat, but I'm there. That's one of those things. Stacy Michaels, good to see you. Seventh Son, good to see you. Miss V, Miss Hermit Hill, Kentucky, good to see you here as well. It's great whenever somebody reaches out and takes the opportunity to let us know what's going on. Tell us a little bit about themselves. It's one of those things that gives us a chance to to get an idea of where you're coming from. There are the thing with addiction and the thing with recovery is there are so many. Every single story is unique, truthfully unique. Hold 1 second, people. Just saw something. Oh, how did that hurt, huh? Bet that was loud. Pardon me 1 sec. So always right in the middle of a live feed. Sorry, people, but as I have always said in the past, if my family reaches out, then it's one of those things that I have to check. Okay, well, we're going to go with it. There's so many different. There are so many different stories. Every single person who is in recovery, or anybody who's supporting anyone in recovery, the stories are so unique. They're as unique as the number of people out there. So it's great when somebody reaches out and sort of weighs in and lets us know who they are, what's going on in their life. That's a huge thing. Today we're going to be talking about learning perspective, and this is a subject that is near and dear to my heart because I think it is probably one of the we don't need no mod. You know something? If it gets to that, maybe I'll just jump in. But, this is the time of year where you get a lot of people that are doing the holiday thing. And, that's to be expected, especially on the weekends when we double up. Saigon Cinnamon, speaking of a blue wrench-wielding madman. Saigon, good to see you, my brother. We're keeping you in our thoughts and our prayers. I love it when I see people walk by with dogs. Just go walking by. I don't know if I told you guys this story, but the way that the camera is set up, if you happen to live across the street, you can see me speaking through the window, but you can't see the tripod and camera setup. So, if you just happen to be watching me, you think I'm a lunatic. You think I'm just one of those people that sits here and talks to themselves all day long. Yeah, it's a big open window here behind you. But the subject today is near and dear to my heart. This is, we have a real issue. And I lump me in this too, people. All of us in recovery have a very serious problem. All of us in the world have a serious problem with perspective. But those of us in recovery, I think, probably suffer from it more than most. And it's one of those things that if you don't keep in check, it can absolutely rewire your entire life. It can put you in a really bad mental state that you can almost park in. It becomes possible to live in that permanent sort of funk, that malaise that comes when you don't, keep life in perspective. So one of the things that as we come into the holiday season. All of us find that our time seems to be an issue. You got to get to the mall, you got to do the Christmas shopping thing, you got to set up lights, you got to go get a tree. All of these things that seem so time consuming. And as most of you probably know, I'm on my way back to school. Right, starting in January, I am heading back to get another degree in chemical dependency and chemical dependency counseling. So I've been kind of going through my head exactly what that's going to entail because I spend a pretty decent amount of time engaging with the lifeboat. This is, this is more than a pet project. This is really sort of the focus of my entire life. And it becomes one of those situations where as you start to analyze, I think I've told you people that I spend tons of time making lists these days, writing things down, planning. There's a lot of time with pen put to paper, and you start getting nervous. I start thinking to myself, well, I put in 40 or 50 hours a week on the boat, and that is the truth, believe it or not. And I start trying to schedule, and I'm looking at, how much time I actually spend in class, kind of a scenario, and then on top of that, the amount of time that I think I will have to spend, hitting the books, doing the assignments, listening to lectures, all of these things. And I began to panic, which is, one of those things. Normally we can see the camera in the mirror over your shoulder. Okay, yeah. So I end up losing perspective. And I end up thinking about how how much time and time management have I really got to work with? Am I going to be able to pull this off? And self-talk, right? As we were talking about it yesterday, I like to call it ANT, A-N-T. It's not a term I came up with. It's a term someone else came up with. But since ants are a pain in the can and so are automatic, negative thoughts, it seems to me that that's a great acronym for it. Joanna W., good to see you. But those negative thoughts started instantly crawling into my head. And all of a sudden, I'm going to be studying stuff that I've spent the last 7 years studying. I think I've told the story many times, but I had access to every book you could ever want on recovery. I just didn't have the ability to go to school. I honestly had probably the entire curriculum to get a 4-year degree in this. There was a person there that was very cool to lend me all of these books. The only degree that I could go in for, there were several degrees, but none of them were in chemical dependency counseling or anything even remotely associated. There wasn't even a psychology degree at any level. So, I started thinking, I've probably read most of these textbooks. I'm going to be doing stuff that I've already done in the past, and I start trying to keep this in perspective. And then I did something odd. I decided to look up how many hours we actually spend doing this or that, right? And one of the first things that I did was to try to figure out how many, Christine, always a pleasure, to try to figure out how many hours we're working with. And it's absolutely astounding. So to give a little perspective, over the course of a year, we're working on about 8,760 hours. That's what makes up a year, right? 8,760 hours. And you start wondering, okay, so let's say you're like the average American and you got to go to work for what, 40 hours a week, right? That's pretty standard stuff. Some people work a little bit more, some people work a little bit less. But for the sake of easy math, let's call it 40 hours a week. And then let's say that you work all year. All you're doing is taking off those couple of weeks right around the holidays, right? You get 2 weeks off all year. So you're going to work 50 weeks out of the year. That's going to get you to about 2,000 hours that you're going to spend working. And then you got to figure, you got to get sleep, right? There's no way that you're going to be healthy if you don't get at least 8 hours of sleep time. So let's put down 8 hours of sleep and do the math on that. It's going to come to 2,900 more hours. So if you add the two of those up, you end up with 4,920 hours that is going to be taken up by a 40-hour a week job and sleep. What that ends up leaving is 3,840. 3,840 hours, right? That's a lot of time. What do we do with 3,840 hours? It really got me wondering, what is it that, Brandon, don't go anywhere, I want to talk to you. What is it that we do? How do we chunk up all of that time? Because anytime I talk to anybody, whether they're on the boat, off the boat, people that I know from just regular life, it's astounding how no one has any time. It's everybody's complaint. Oh man, I'm so busy. You know what I mean? There's just not enough hours in the day. What are you doing with 3,840 hours a year? Because I'm betting that we're not all slaving away for that 3,800 hours. So I started to try to look at what I do during the day and how much time I spend doing X, Y, or Z. Because there are some things that I want to do this year. I've talked to you people about some of them already, right? I definitely want to get back in shape because I've let myself go. I have started eating way, way too much. And I ballooned up to about 30 pounds heavier than I was like 3.5 months ago. I've put on about 30 pounds in 3.5 months, which is not healthy for me anyway. So that's one of those things that I want to do. And I start to put all of this in. I got more time than I know what to do with. Truthfully, I don't know what I do with it, but when I start saying, all right, well, look, I'm going to dedicate an hour a day to working out. So out of the, so there's 365 hours out of my 3,840. People, when you start breaking it down and you start really looking at this in perspective, you will realize that we waste astounding amounts of time. The only asset that we cannot create more of, the only thing that we can't beg, borrow, or steal or earn right? Time is ticking. And what are we doing with it? I mean, to keep it in perspective, what is it that we're doing with our time? Are we spending it wisely? Are we spending that time on things that are going to benefit us? And as we start rolling around to the first day of the year here in 2022, there will be people all over the United States, all over the world, all over this boat who are making New Year's resolutions. Some of them are just cutting things out, right? I'm going to stop doing this. Well, it's not going to be, something that's very time consuming. If you say I'm going to quit smoking cigarettes, if anything, you're going to be getting time back. You're not going to be losing any time. But if you're going the other route, if it's something that you plan to start doing, you got to realize that there is an excess amount of time that you're just not taking advantage of. Thought I heard a doorbell. So as we start to get to approach the New Year's resolution time, one of the resolutions, I think for everybody on the planet, ought to be perspective. All right, everybody on the boat here, for the most part, everybody, is in the process of recovery. There are people who, we've talked about this many times, there are people who are here solely to support other people, and I love that. I love that. But for the majority of us, we have had a problem at one time or another in our lives with chemical dependency, right? We had a substance abuse problem, be it alcohol or drugs or habits, right? But all of us have struggled through this. And it is another area that instantly we lose perspective on. My man, Brendan, is on the boat right now. And I am so proud of Brendan, people. I don't know what to do. Truthfully, I'm so proud of him. If you've been on the boat for any length of time, you know that Brendan's fighting the good fight. Brandon is putting down the bottle. And he has reached double digits in days of sobriety on several occasions. And he's been unbelievably honest. There were 2 times that he stumbled, and he immediately came back to the boat. He didn't wait a week. He didn't disappear. He didn't lie. He showed up and said, hey, you know what? I screwed up last night. However, the first time he said, boy, I really let you all down, because perspective on this issue was probably not, really in focus. And you can't blame him, because this environment, everybody's pulling for the same thing, and it's all we talk about. And you feel like, if you misstep, that you let down all of these people on the boat. Well, simply not the case, at all. Saigon Cinnamon said it beautifully. You can't beat yourself up, and you can't. One of the things that we lose with perspective is we start to judge our success, especially in sobriety, by everyone else. This is just something that's human nature, but with addicts, it is an epidemic. We start looking at people with other amounts of sobriety. How many times that since you've been on this boat have you heard somebody say something along the lines of, well, I got 6 days of sobriety. I know that doesn't sound like much to you guys, right? How many people have we heard say that? You want some perspective, people? For those of us who have, say, more than a year or more than 4 years or 5 years, the days that we remember the most? The days that we really remember what it was like? Those days. That first 30 was absolutely memorable, right? In a very, very big way, it was memorable. Those are the toughest of the days. Those are the impressive days. When you say, I got, 15 days, probably doesn't sound impressive. It sounds astounding. It sounds awesome. It sounds like you're fighting the good fight, and it sounds like you're winning. People, there was a comment this morning from my brother Brandon, who said he had an opportunity to drink last night, and instead he drank water. This, if you followed his patterns, this is kind of what had happened in the past, was that, a weekend would roll around, and as very often happens on weekends, especially, when you're in that, the younger part of life, the great part of life, when you're you're in your 20s and 30s, the weekends tend to be party days, and that's when booze tends to come out. And this, I guarantee you, was just a very similar situation to the ones that he stumbled in the last time. But as opposed to beating himself up, when he stumbled the last time, he got up, he dusted himself off, and immediately, right? He didn't go on a binge. He drank, he got up. The next day he quit. And last night he got through it. Last night he was able to to fight the good fight. He was able to do the right thing, right? He learned from his mistakes, and now he's here, and his sobriety date is continuing to run. Could not be any prouder. I really couldn't. That is just it's why we're here, right? But so oftentimes people who arrive on the boat and just get here don't have any perspective, and they think to themselves, well, I got 4 days sober. I don't even want to mention that. You know what I mean? Because these people, well, they're sober and they're successful, or they're, whatever goes on in the mind when you start to look at other people. We forget the baby steps, and we talk about it here. We harp on it. When you watch a child take his first steps, they don't walk for the rest of their life. They take 3 or 4 steps, they fall down, right? We've talked about this 1,000 times. But yes, congratulations, Brandon is right. They hit their butt, then they jump back up, and they try again. And nobody goes, I fell. What a failure. We celebrate the baby steps. We celebrate the fact that people were moving in the right direction. We celebrate the fact that that infant was able to get up there and totter and start moving. That's the same thing in sobriety. Those first couple of steps are epic. And you know what? More often than not, you're going to land on your diaper. Get back up. We look, and when we hit the ground, we look at all these people around us that are sober. And then we do that stupid perspective thing that everyone in the world does, right? And we see, right? There's a light and a dark side of every single person. There's what they want you to see. And I don't mean that they're lying to you. It's just human nature, right? I don't come on here and complain for an hour. Doesn't mean I don't complain. I don't talk about the things in my life that aren't going well. Not very often. I mean, if there's something that's threatening my sobriety, I come on here and I talk about it. But, if there's, just the little pet peeves and things like that, I don't come and talk about them. Because what I want to project is the best of Tommy, right? I don't want to, and we do this. Everybody does this. But when you're in recovery, that's what you see. You don't see the person struggling the same way that you are. I am 6.5 years in this. Tommy Bird, good to see you. I'm 6.5 years into this, people, and I still struggle. Everybody struggles. That is the nature of what we do. The struggles become shorter and shorter, right? And less often and less often. In the beginning, you would start to struggle, and it would be a week of just, gritting your teeth to get through it. And, by the second year, those things may have come for a couple of days, right? And they wouldn't be as intense. And they may be a couple of days, a month, whatever. By the third year, it might happen every other month. But it's always going to happen. Always. But when you're new in sobriety, you think that everybody else went like this. Look at that. I'm good, right? I don't think about anything. I'm not worried about anything. I haven't seen Alan lately. Hope he is good. I assume you're talking about Alan Ballantyne. Alan has been working unbelievable hours. Leisure Beast, good to see you. I speak to Alan pretty much every day. Every once in a while, a day will go by that the two of us don't link up. But for the most part, we talk every single day. So today, I spoke to him, and he said he's working long hours. He's got a lot of hours that that he's been doing, and it's paying the bills. And he said he's catching up and actually, making a little extra money. And still had a great outlook. I think he would like to be working less, especially as we get closer to the holidays. But he's still here, make no mistake, and he's still sober. So fear not with Alan Ballantyne. I believe he said he would be on the 6 o'clock feed, so we should see him. But people, as we get rolling, as you're just starting out in this, one of the things that you have to learn in perspective is to not judge yourself by other people, and don't assume that what you look at with other people is the picture. It is human nature to put your best foot forward. It is human nature to not show everybody. And I mean, we try to encourage the exact opposite here, right? If you're struggling with something, we would like you to talk about it. But it is the most difficult thing in the world for people to do. Just look at social media, right? Look at Facebook. Look at Instagram. You ever see a picture on Instagram of a person like this, right? Shoulders slumped with a caption that says, man, I'm hating life. I'm behind on my bills. The wife and I are fighting. Everybody wants to project the best. Don't think for a hot second that that's what's going on in people's lives. And better than that, don't think about other people's lives. Concentrate on what you're doing and concentrate on baby steps. Stop thinking in terms of, I need to go from today to 6 years sober, right? That is a daunting concept, and it is one that causes relapse as fast as anything in the world. What you need to focus on is today. And for a lot of people, what you need to focus on is the next hour. Just get through the next hour, and then we can worry about the one after that, right? Baby steps are essential. Unfortunately, we lose perspective, and we tend to look at ourselves in terms of, hello to everyone I missed. I'm making dinner and washing school clothes. Saigon, you're a beast. We appreciate you. Saigon jumped on here and sort of held it down until some more people showed up. I know he's a busy guy, but I appreciate you, Saigon. You're a great dude. But we lose perspective, and we belittle ourselves, and that talk does damage, right? You stumble, and you have a night where you relapse. I mean, you drink. You lost the date of your sobriety. And for most people, that is failure. And that is the farthest thing in the world from the truth. We don't quit quitting, right? It is literally part of the process. It is an established part of the process. It is going to happen. When Bell invented the light bulb, wasn't it Bell? Alexander Graham Bell? I think it was. But when he invented the light bulb, Thomas Edison. When he invented the light bulb, he said that what he did was, found 9,999 ways to not make a light bulb. People, it's the same thing with sobriety. Why is it that we love it when we hear that quote when someone's talking about an invention? We love it, right? It's the coolest thing in the world. He didn't screw up 10,000 times. He just had 9,999 ways to not make a light bulb. And we all go, wow, that's cool. That's awesome. I came up with 15,000 ways, right, to not get sober. I learned every single way in the book to not get sober. You're right, Christine. Bell invented the telephone, and it was the other guy that I just said, right? But we love it. We love the quote when it's used in that context. But if you said to somebody, hey, I just figured out, 250 ways that I wasn't going to get sober. Now I finally did it. Because it's recovery and because it's addiction. People are going to look down their nose at you. Well, not here. So let's celebrate moving forward. Let's celebrate the fact that you're taking the steps in the right direction. And if you stumble and fall, get back up. It's part of the process. It is success as long as you're not laying down. If you get knocked down 7 times, how many times do you get up? 8, right? This is just, I had 90 problems. I had 99 problems and the drug created every one. I like it. You know what? That's not a bad t-shirt right there. 99 problems and the drugs created every single one of them, because that is the truth, right? But when you start to have perspective, relapse has definitely been a part of my recovery. I'm still in recovery. It's all part of it. And part of an addiction life. It is, and an addict's life, rather. Yeah, it is. It is. And as long as you're moving forward, keep that in perspective. You can't judge yourself by the finish line. And make no mistake about it, the finish line isn't getting sober. Right? Say this with me. The finish line isn't getting sober. That's the starting gate. That's the base camp. Looking up at Everest. That's when your life starts. Right? Getting sober is the start of a new life. And the process of staying sober is part of that new life. But that's base camp. It's not the finish line. And it's one of the things that people lose perspective on. She loves that song. 99 Problems and ain't one. But yeah, don't lose perspective. Don't start thinking about it as an all or nothing. If you're moving forward, if your focus is to quit and there's a bump in the road, you're still in the process of quitting. You're still in the process of making it happen. Wilbur and Orville Wright, the Wright brothers, they're the people credited. You can debate this because they probably were not the first people to fly, but they are certainly credited, especially in this country, with being the first people to get an airplane off the ground. And we wouldn't look back at them and say, well, it wasn't very impressive. If you take the wingspan, right, of a 747-400, It's longer than their first flight. You hear that? Tip to tip. They didn't fly as far as the wings on a 747-400. Does that mean that they were failures? Does that mean it wasn't a monumental thing? I mean, it wasn't much of a flight. I'm getting ready to fly to Florida, right? And have a cup of coffee and fruit and things to eat on the way there. Now that's success. Those idiots there in Kitty Hawk, man, they did nothing. It's ridiculous, right? Well, it's the same principle in your own recovery. If you still move forward even a little, it's positive. Don't move backwards is the key. Exactly right. Tommy Bird. It's exactly right. And how do you move backwards? You don't get up, right? Or you spend 6 days down. If you stumble and you come back to your support family and you tell them the truth, the fact that Brandon, the most impressive thing in the world to me was the fact that Brandon came back every single time and honestly told us, this is virtual. Right? How easy would it have been for him to fall into the pattern of the last life, right? Page 2 Brandon, right? He didn't have to tell anybody here. How would anybody know? He would have known. The man showed integrity. You know what integrity is? It's moving forward. For an addict, honesty, I mean, you're doing amazing things when you start being honest. That is the start of something absolutely monumental. It's the start of something beautiful. It is page 3. Thank you, Leisure Beast. It is the start of page 3. Tortoise. Thank you. I assume you mean tortoise in the hair. Absolutely right. Perspective. Right? Quit judging yourself by something that you have come up with. Right? Look at that guy. He's got 10 years sober. I want that. I got news for you. You're never going to catch up. I will never have more sober time than Mark. Because Mark's not going to slip up. I'm not going to let him. Which means I'm never going to catch up. Who cares? If we're both sober today, then we're winning the lottery. Right? We're fighting the good fight. Everybody on this boat who doesn't use today, same footing. Same footing. It's one of the incredible things about recovery. Every single time you get up in the morning, you're only as good as that day. Yesterday doesn't matter, right? We talk about it all the time. We usually talk about it in terms of don't be looking in the rearview mirror, right? But you can not dwell on the good too, right? Don't pat yourself on the back that you've got, 5 years sober. I mean, that's good. It's worth a fist pump. It really is. But you can't rest on that because you're only as good as today. That's the day that matters, today. So if today is your first day of sobriety and it's my 900th, it doesn't matter. We're both fighting the good fight today. Yes, being honest and no longer lying to anyone in my life has been the biggest change of it all. And it has made me feel the best since all my recovery. I'm going to agree with you 100%, Tommy. And maybe it's because we were sort of into the same things, but My particular drug of choice turns you into a liar like nothing else on the planet, and I was the worst. Hands down, I was the worst liar in the world. And it's, for me, Tommy, it was the most noticeable, right? I'm proud of a lot of things in recovery. The fact that I truthfully try to help people is something that I was not big on. My Blue Wrench squad is here, so I'm going to finish dinner. Love you all. We love you too, Saigon. Thanks so much for always being here, man. Great guy. But I think it's the most noticeable, when you start, because when you start telling the truth at every turn, it reminds you how often you used to lie. Because, Mark Wages was talking the other day about something that came up with his wife. And he said his first inclination was to lie. I find that happening to me all the time about the stupidest crap in the world that has nothing to do with anything. And so someone will ask me something and my first thought is, you go to spit out and if the person's really close with me, I'll tell them. You know what I mean? They'll say, what time did you go to bed last night? And if I stayed up late and I know they're going to give me crap about it, I'll be like, 9 o'clock. That's a lie. I don't even know why I said that. I was up till 3. Because I was so programmed for such a long period of time to just be dishonest that it becomes really, probably like Tommy said, it's probably the biggest thing in my sobriety, the most noticeable thing in my sobriety. But, he talked about how as long as you're moving forward, you're succeeding. And I agree with that 100%. As long as you're moving forward, then progress is taking place. And honesty is huge, huge. If you're brand new to the boat and you've never heard me talk about how I got sober, just real briefly, I made a list on the first page. This is somebody that laid this out for me, by the way. This is not something that I created. But the person said to me, just list all the reasons you want to be sober. Right? That was page 1. Just list all the reasons you want to be sober. And I listed them. I didn't want to let down family. I was tired of being sick. And I just wrote all the things down. And then he said, the second page might take you a few days. But write down everything about who you are. Like if someone were to describe you and they knew everything about you, what would they write? And it took a couple of days. And I mean, I promise you, no joke. The first thing I wrote on the top of the page was liar. Because that was, I knew if somebody really knew who I was and knew everything there was to know, that would have been the first thing they would have mentioned. I mean, thief was up there. There was a lot of bad things on page 2. But the very first one was liar. And so I made that whole list out. And by the time I brought it back to him, and it was a couple of days, it was, in 12 steps, they talk about a searing and a searching moral inventory. Well, this baby was honest. So when I came back to him, I was depressed. I remember saying to him, this is awful. It really, really depressed me, writing all this down. He said, well, now you get to go and design the new you, And it was almost like, you under windy, gusty firewatch. It's like going and picking out all of the stuff in a brand new house, or designing something for a car. You know what I mean? Where you're, what is the plural of moose, and where did they go? I'm going to go with moose. I think if there's 2 of them, they're just moose. There's about 150 moose in this house. They're absolutely everywhere. So I assume you're talking to the 2 that were up here. I wanted to give room for Christmas cards, right? Because they've started to come in. This one is from Andrea Tillett. But I started to put some cards and some other things up here. They'll be back. I promise you, they'll be back. In fact, maybe by the next feed, because you're not the first person to ask about the moose. Yes, leisure, stay safe. But I digress, and I have been known to squirrel. But then I took page 3, and I designed who I wanted to be, piece by piece. And I promise you, the first thing I wrote was honest. How would people describe the new you if it was perfect and you had it every way you wanted it to be? How would they describe you? That was page 3. So you hear me say often here that, if we're talking about a time in my life where I was just reprehensible, I'll refer to page 2 Tommy versus page 3 Tommy. This is page 3 Tommy. And I promise you that I wouldn't have been doing a show like this in the page 2, part of my existence. Wouldn't have happened because it just, it so thoroughly went against who I was, But you're right, honesty. It was the first thing I listed in what was wrong with me, and it was the first thing I put on the top of what I wanted the new me to be. And it was the most impressive thing to me with Brandon. I knew he was going in the right direction. You know what I mean? And he would start beating himself up, and everybody on the boat was great. No one really let Brandon kick himself around. Everybody just chimed in and said, hey, man, it's part of the process, and stop beating up on yourself, because that guilt will drive you back to, to not be in the game. You really can almost cause the next relapse by just laying a whole bunch of guilt on yourself, especially guilt that is misplaced. So, watching Brandon through this process has been amazing. And this morning, I'm telling you, people, it made my day. When I got up first thing in the morning, and there was a comment that said, I had a chance to drink last night and I went with water, and it's just, boy, that's awesome. It really is. It's awesome. Strange number from New Jersey is calling me. Those people need to leave me alone. Don't pick it up. Blow it off. Yep, you absolutely don't. That's it. Put that in the category of things. If it's bothering you, don't bother. I'm telling you, the number of calls that I get daily from just the stupidest things in the world. The really common one is when they call and say, your the warranty on your car is run out. You know this hustle? I mean, I'm sure you guys get these calls each and every day. I have so much fun with them. Isn't that awful? But I have a ball with that. I always go, oh, good deal. Which one are we talking about? Because they'll go, what? Well, which car? I want to know which car you're talking about, because they don't even know you have a car. It's just one of those, and they'll go, well, we can do it for any one of them. If you watch enough cops, you will see lying and blaming someone you will see lying and someone blaming them on their problem. Brandon, I don't think they even have it on anymore. But yeah, Cops was one of those shows that sort of highlighted all of that stuff. I know it got canceled pretty much across the board. You can probably still see it in syndication in some places, but the cancel culture got a hold of Cops, and they are no longer with us. But as far as the honesty goes, people, and keeping things in perspective, the route that you take to sobriety can go in a lot of directions, and there are plenty of people on here. They called to ask me if I wanted to lower the interest on my Visa card, and I don't have a Visa card. The best ever. I think you guys will get a kick out of this. I know that I'm squirreling, but this one's awesome. I got a call on, I think, Thursday of last week. I want to say it was Thursday of last week, but I got a call, and they said that this was the final notice that my power was getting turned off today, right? And so, that didn't make a whole lot of sense, right? I know there's no problem with power, so I started to inquire, and apparently it was whoever had my phone number prior to me. It's not me, but whoever had that phone at that time, like, they've changed their number, but their power's getting turned off. Plain and simple. He's had, X number of chances and this and that. So I spent about 15 minutes on the phone with these people and talked them into leaving that power on through the end of the holidays. And I didn't do it, honestly, I didn't do it to be kind or anything like that. I kind of just did it for sport. And then after I hung up, I thought, well, that was actually a pretty cool thing. Unfortunately, they don't know I did that. So, I'm sure the shoe is going to drop after the holidays, but at least, they got through the holidays. That's something. I started my relationship with my wife saying I would never lie to her. Before I started, even thought about recovery, and I have absolutely maintained that. Not one lie in what is now our 12-year marriage. That is the coolest thing I've ever heard, man. That is the coolest thing I have ever heard. Seriously, Tommy, that's awesome, man. I hope everybody caught that, right? Please read that comment from Tommy Bird. 12 years of marriage and he's never told his wife a lie. I love that. I love that. And my gut tells me that you guys probably got 12 or 36 or 48 more, because if you build a relationship, whether it's a significant other, whether it's us, no matter what it is, if you build a relationship and you build it on trust, then and honesty, right? When you're honest with someone, they can trust you. And you're better off just laying it out and being who you are and always telling the truth. I know that sounds easy to say, now, so to speak, but, I was in a very, I got a rugged past, and it took a long time. It took a very long time for me to get to the point where I thought that I could just come out and say, you know what? This is who I am. I went to prison for this, and I spent this long on dope. And because I remember when I told you people, this dream was around for a long time. And when I finally realized that the way I was going to try to do it was on YouTube, I remember having a very long conversation with Johnny, my brother. And, I said to him, what happens when I tell people about my past, And my brother's response was, look, they're gonna either not accept you or they're going to accept you. And the more honest you are, the more that the people who do accept you will, pay attention to what it is you're doing. Hard to believe, not one lie, but she's what kept me anchored in my life and saved me in the end. Stuck with me for who I truthfully was. I owe her a lot. You absolutely do. You absolutely do. And you know something? I'm really glad that you're here, and I wish that that comment had been left 4 days ago, when there was somebody on the boat who made a comment that said, if you're with somebody and they use, you need to get away from them. It's never going to work under any circumstance. You guys remember that comment? I kind of freaked out on it. Mark really freaked out on it. Probably more than we should have. You know what I mean? We gotta keep on an even keel. It's part of what you gotta, you can't let people sort of get you off of your game. But it was one of those things that I hated hearing, because of exactly what Tommy Bird is saying right now. The relationship that he has with his wife, the relationship that Mark has with his wife. When you are completely honest, and honesty is the basis for your relationship, it'll overcome just about anything. Addiction it's just another one of those things, and it's so commonplace these days that, what I really truthfully believe, what destroys the relationships of addicts and their mates, isn't the drug itself; it's the lying around it. That was in the two marriages that I personally destroyed, and I did. I mean, it was me. In both of them, honesty was the reason that the marriages fell apart. Plain and simple. It wasn't the drug use. They could have, in both cases, they could have put up with that. They could have forgiven me for that. But once you start lying to somebody and you make it a habit, and as a heroin addict, I mean, I don't know that I ever told the truth to anybody. That's just how I lived. It was one big, huge lie. But yeah, the relationships can endure anything except dishonesty. That's really and that's just my opinion. You take it for what it is. But it's been my experience that it is amazing what two people who love each other can endure, but how quickly you can erode all of that by just being dishonest. It's Tommy Bird, man. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad you left those comments. I really am. And obviously, I'm not alone. A lot of people. I saw a lot of people in the comments section that just said, "That's beautiful," Then it really is. So I started talking about, when we're trying to keep these things in perspective. Talked about wasting time, right? The unbelievable time waste that we all do when we get sober. We're so used to our habit taking up a block of time each and every day that you sort of have to get into a completely different mindset as somebody sober. And time management becomes one of these huge things. But even if you don't master it overnight, don't lie to yourself about it. You follow me? Have perspective. Because every day someone is saying, every day I get emails from people that say, well, I can't get everything done. I don't have enough time. And you don't want to be a jerk. The last thing in the world I want to do is come across as a jerk, especially, as people are trying to get sober. You really just want to be supportive as much as you can. But the question needs to be every time, how much time do you spend on the net, right? How much time do you spend checking out Facebook every day? Because seriously, take the average American. What do you figure we're spending on our little social media platforms? Between, Meta, right? Meta now. So you've got WhatsApp and Instagram and Facebook. Take all of those and put them all together. If you're chunking up an hour a day, right? You know how much you can get done in an hour a day? And if you just got on the channel, then you probably missed that 3,840 hours is about what you have to yourself after you've slept and worked every single year. We just don't manage our time very well, and there needs to be some perspective on that. Thank you. I try not to be a proud person, but that is something we're proud of. You know something? There's nothing wrong in the entire world with being proud of an accomplishment. There isn't. I think that people have started. Cindy Lamb, good to see you. I think that people have made it into something that if you say I'm proud of an accomplishment, you're instantly arrogant or narcissistic or any of that. It's ridiculous. If you look at people like Elton John, right? Elton John, whether you like him or not, he's a very, very successful recording artist. He's won Emmys and Grammys and Academy Awards, right? He's just He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. He's done everything that you can tick off in terms of being a successful musician, and he's made about $500 million, right? He's got about $500 million that he's made in his career. And I saw him interviewed, and they said, when you've done everything that you could set out to do in your chosen career, and he's been given the Lifetime Achievement Award, right? They said, when you get to that level, what is it that you are the most proud of? And I swear to you, you know what he said? Getting sober. With everything he had done in life, what he was most proud of was the fact that he was able to put down drugs and booze. There's nothing wrong with that. The fact that you that you've never told a lie to your wife in 12 years. Tell you what, if you feel guilty, taking pride in that, we'll do it for you. How's that? We'll do it for you. You should be proud. You should be amazingly proud. True, it's an example of integrity. My dad's a man of integrity and honor. Was married 55 years before my mom passed. I don't remember how long my mom and dad were married, but it was a long, long time. It was either deep in the 50s or early in the 60s. They spent just a lifetime together. And yeah, you build a relationship on trust, and they usually stick around. Cindy Lamb says, I'm feeling awesome. Facing down, fear feels amazing. I'm clean and like, wow. We're proud of you, Cindy. We really are. You know what, people? When you're having a day like that, email me and tell me about it. Seriously. I think you'd be surprised the number of people on the boat that I correspond back and forth with. It's a lot of people. And stories like that are incredible. And they're not all good. I'm not going to lie to you people. I get some rugged emails. I get emails from people who are in really bad places, at the time that they're sending it. They're really going through it. And it's great to get emails of people that are saying that they're winning the fight. I had a lot of relationships that were horrible when on drugs, and I realized that it was because I lied. I chose to start this one differently. Perfect. Yeah. And I think it's probably an example to anybody. We actually talked about this in one of the other videos. I'm sorry, hold 1 second. I'm so very thankful because you all are the reason. Thanks, everyone. Oh, Cindy, that's awesome. Such a cool thing to hear you say. It really is. But Tommy, I've talked about this in other videos. Most of us, if you're just coming off of a long drug career, there's an excellent chance you're single, right? Most of us blew through our significant other or multiple significant others, and very oftentimes when you're just starting that sobriety process, you're single. And I've said so many times, number one, don't jump into it because your emotions are just right. Every rehab in the world says the same thing, that you need to keep all of that sort of in perspective as well, because you will just be like a 14 or 13-year-old, you know what I mean? You're instantly in love, and the emotions are so over the top because you've been drugging your emotions for so long. But I have said in so many videos that, you just got to, right from the word go, as you're starting to get to know that person, if you wait 3 months to tell them about your past, you're a liar. I know that sounds awful, but it's the truth. If you let somebody develop feelings for you while you're in recovery and you don't mention that you're in recovery, there's something wrong. They really is, especially early on in the recovery. But I'm a big proponent of telling people exactly what's up, because it does a couple of things. Number one, it starts the relationship off on a footing that says we're going to be honest from the word go. And I think that we're all in agreement that that's important. And the other thing that it does is it weeds people out, as opposed to really starting to develop feelings for somebody who looks you in the eye at month 3 and goes, I could never be with a recovering heroin addict. Like, that's devastating, right? That's the kind of thing that sends people into relapse. You should be, Yahusha's disciple says, Tommy, may I ask how long you have been in recovery? I have been in recovery since the 26th of June, 2015 was my last. That's not the day I got sober. That's the last day I used, right? So the 27th of June, 2015. That is my sobriety date. So 6.5 years. Going on 6.5 years. Yep, currently. But yeah, I I think that right from the word go, being honest and being open is the best way. By the way, I got a text message from a relative that wanted to let me know that my mom and dad were married for 59 years. So very, very long marriage, which is just awesome. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate that. I do. I have family and friends on Facebook for FB that. For Facebook, that is. You know what? And I'm not saying for a second that there's anything wrong. I'm not. I mean, if you ever anything in life that you can keep in perspective and you can keep in check, but it's what I find disturbing is the number of people who say to me, "Oh yeah, I've got no time. I can't fit this in." You know, I was talking about weight loss because this is something that's I'm going to be, doing. I started my New Year's resolution, as you all know, in December. So I was talking to people about it, and I was talking about working out and how long I'm going to be, working out each day. And I had 3 people in one day say to me, "Oh, I just don't have any time to work out." And I just want to go, "Nah, you're wrong. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but you're wrong. It takes an hour a day." It's the word perspective is a great one, isn't it? It's a great word because it nothing in the world clarifies quite like perspective. For instance, if I said to you, what I need you to do is come here to the lifeboat page. You're going to meet me at 5 o'clock in the morning, every single morning, and you're going to spend 1 hour right here from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock a.m. in your time zone every single morning. And for that, I'm going to give you $500 every single time you do it. Do you think that there's anybody on the lifeboat that would miss one of those ever? No, of course not. So I assure you, time wouldn't be a problem, right? Time would not be an issue. They'd make time. They'd reschedule everything in their life to make time because that would be of paramount importance to them. And that's really what it is what is important enough. Hard for me to balance being humble and proud of myself at the same time, which is what I try to do for my own personal beliefs. And I think that everybody in the world needs to do just that. However, in the real world, being proud of sobriety, being proud of recovery, being proud of being honest, these are things that the real world just assumes that you're supposed to do anyway. So they don't celebrate the fact that this is new and that you should be proud of it. In fact, they kind of crap on people who try to celebrate those things. It was one of the main reasons for the lifeboat, is so that there could be a place where we could celebrate victories. We can come here and say, "Hey, so-and-so is 5 days sober. How cool is that?" Or Cindy Lamb, day 2. How cool is that, right? In the real world, no one's going to celebrate that. In fact, they'll belittle it. They'll say something stupid. It really is it's an awesome thing that you all have built this so that there is a place that people can come and celebrate 48 hours of sobriety, or 36 hours of sobriety, or 5 hours of sobriety. Because I remember when sobriety was not something that I counted by days or weeks or months, but I remember when I was counting it by the hours. I really do. I remember the 27th of June. And I'd love to tell you that, I had this, because I've told the story before and I spent a lot of time talking to God and, I really sort of got right in my own head during that period of time. But I'd love to tell you that because of that, the clouds opened up and the sun came down and that's just not the way it was. It was hell, I had a good habit and I was, locked in solitary confinement and just going through it. It was the worst. Amy says, "I'm beyond grateful for the lifeboat. It has saved me. I'm still so new into recovery. I need you and you have become my family." Wow. Very cool. And you know what? You've definitely become part of ours. I'm super proud of you, Amy, and you should be super proud of yourself. Since everybody here already knows the story for the most part, and I'm not telling anybody anything they don't know, but she needed to go out east to take care of somebody. And we talked the day that news came down, and I think it was stressful. You know what I mean? It was one of those things that, how we talk about getting into the river of the unknown. And I know that Amy was going through it. And over about a 10 or 15 minute conversation, we got to the point where she could say, wow, I can be relied upon, right? I'm not the addict that people don't want anywhere near the crisis. I'm the person they're calling in. We need your help, and I think that once that perspective sort of came into play, it was wild to watch the transformation on that phone call, from sort of bummed out and nervous to proud, of what was going on. And it's stuff like that, people. That's the paycheck. That is why we do this. Sure, disciple, I've been in recovery for about 3 years, so I drug her through a lot for a long time. Good for you, though, Good for you, Tommy. Tommy talked me off the emotional ledge I was on. That phone call was awesome. I didn't do as much as she's given me credit for. I just sort of, I think she talked herself off of the ledge, but I was the person she talked to, but to watch that whole transformation from being in sort of almost panic mode, where the first thing, you had to do is get your breathing under control, like really stressed, to proud, and you got every right to be. It is a balancing act, make no mistake, it's a balancing act, but I think most people here are doing a pretty good job on it. T Prada, good to see you. Unfortunately, we are calling this actually gone a little bit over. Mark will be pleased. We do try to keep these right at an hour. But the good news is, people, that here on the Pacific time zone, here on the West Coast, it is a little after 4 o'clock, a little after 6 o'clock. We will be right back here. Same bat channel. And I cannot wait to see each and every one of you here. It's really nice how you read the comments. Most channels don't. Yeah, it's kind of the nature of what we do here, Christine. You know what I mean? There needs to be some back and forth, because we're kind of a different subject matter, I think, than most channels. But yeah. And Christine says, please leave a comment after the show, especially if you dug it. You know what I mean? Pop on there and leave something. If nothing else, say congratulations, Brandon, and maybe another one for Cindy Lamb. Great job, you two. Super proud of you. I'm Captain Tommy Scoble. I will see you on the next live feed. That will be 6 o'clock on the West Coast, the best coast, Oculize Coast. We will see you then. I'm out of here.